Hello, everyone. My name is Leila Silva. I'm here with Otto. Hi, Otto.
Hello, how are you?
Good. We are here to talk about autism. I am a mom of a daughter, 29-year-old with autism, and two other girls. And Otto is here to talk a little bit about his journey in the autism world. And I would like you to introduce yourself and tell a little bit about your family.
Sure, my name is Otto. I'm married to Jael. We've been going to be married for 30 years this year. We have two boys. One is 27 years old, the other one is 25. Both are on the autism spectrum, and we kind of cover both ends of autism. Thomas, the oldest one, is what used to be known as Asperger's. He is a high-functioning autistic kid, so verbal, very smart, but has the social challenges and has difficulty interacting with people and making friends. And then we have Nicholas, who is a more classic case of autism. He is more severe. He is nonverbal, and he lives with us. Thomas is employed, lives on his own, and we're very happy about that. And Nicholas lives with us, and we're happy to care for him.
Awesome. How hard was to get a diagnosis of autism? And before the diagnosis, did you know anything about autism?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question. I knew absolutely nothing about autism. In fact, I probably knew what, most people would answer. I'd watched the movie Rain Man, and that's all I knew about autism. And then and then when Thomas was about 4.5 years old, and when he was in school, um, we found out that he wasn't talking, and at that time, I was trying to teach him German, and my wife was trying to teach him Portuguese, and the videos and the school were teaching him English. And the conclusion was that he was just overwhelmed with not being able to process three languages at the same time. That was what the school told us. And honestly, I did not believe in that because even though in the US one language is more common, in other parts of the world, multilingual kids are a common thing. But they offered a screening for Thomas, and as Nicholas was also exhibiting some behavior issues, Jael was able to got both screened, and they didn't get a diagnosis right away. But we knew there was something going on. In fact, I shouldn't say we, I should say my wife knew something was going on. Um, I um, I basically resisted the diagnosis for probably around a year, thinking that she's just trying to make something up that wasn't really a problem. It was just a matter of being a bit more patient. But after a year, and I regret not understanding that earlier. It was pretty obvious that there was something wrong with both kids, with Thomas and Nicholas. Thomas was diagnosed when he was 7. They got an official diagnosis when we lived in Florida.
And Nicholas was diagnosed at what age?
Yeah, around that, about three. He was 3 or 4 years
Three,
old,
4 years.
something like
Okay.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, some like in the case of my daughter, she was developing fine or getting all the milestones, and just at some point between like 12, 15 months, she started regressing. Did you observe anything like that with your children, or no, from the get-go there was delays throughout the development?
Yeah. So two different situations for Thomas. Basically, he didn't speak a whole lot, and he exhibited some really interesting things. Like at that time, um, you used to put a cassette or a CD in the car, and
Mhm.
it would read a book. And Thomas would memorize those books in an incredible way. In fact, we would pause the CD, and he would continue to recite the book. With Nicholas would point the direction for us. Nicholas would also have strange habits, like he would take cars and line them all up in a circle around him, and he would just was nonverbal. He was actually a little bit verbal, and it regressed quite a bit after that.
Mhm.
And then so you could see there was something wasn't right. And again, I was working and traveling, my wife was witnessing the challenges of every day. Challenges like potty training,
Mhm.
only happened when he was 6 years old. And, sometimes parents get
Yeah.
excited when kids
No.
are not potty trained by 2, when you're by 6 and the diapers no longer fit and you're trying to look
Yeah.
for bigger diapers and extensions for the diaper. So she kind of carried the brunt of the challenge of the early years.
Did your children ever enroll in like early intervention programs? Do they have that at the, where you're living at the time that they got the diagnosis?
Yeah, we lived in Illinois early on, so yeah, they got some services. Most of it was very expensive with very little support, so it was a major financial burden. And as every parent that loves their kids, we wanted to provide the best for
Mhm.
Thomas. Thomas got speech therapy because he was kind of, he became verbal, and he did okay other than the socialization and just being different.
Mhm.
Nicholas was a much more difficult case, and I remember we would put him in some therapy, and I just couldn't afford the cost because it was so expensive. And then again, we actually got into debt at the time in order to afford a therapy for him.
Wow. Yeah. So there was no support from local agencies, like from your county or the state?
It was a little bit. A little later, he got into a school that was about a 45-minute drive. So my wife would drive him over there, and then later on, we got transportation for him on a school program that would be specialized and would provide some support.
Okay.
So there were services, uh, but again, not nearly enough based on what we wanted to offer him.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So how was like how hard was as a couple, as to deal with the news of autism? Like we all, expected parents. We have all those dreams, and we never really think that our child is going to get a diagnosis of autism. So it's a new reality that we have to deal with. So how hard was for you to embrace this new reality? And did you guys had support from, family or support groups in your area? How just you started this journey in the autism world?
Yeah, I think in the beginning, my wife embraced it right away. As I mentioned before, I resisted for a period of time because I just didn't
Mhm,
acknowledge the issue. So that was very hard on her. But she was very determined, and she is a very determined person. So she went after diagnosis and all the resources she could find. Uh, but when I understood,
mhm.
um, we both embraced it. And I think we have, in a sense, we have similar personalities where we don't dwell over issues very much. We embrace them and we go work on them, and that's what we did. But again, I always have to say I always had a traveling job,
Mhm,
so saying we is almost an injustice because she was home with both kids
mhm,
most of the time while I was traveling. So uh, while I was working to provide the means to care for them,
mhm.
she was actually caring for them and doing the day-to-day work.
Okay. Yeah, because I have a different personality. It took me a while to kind of, question my faith and why God is letting this happen. But once I made peace with that, then I start, okay, seeing this is the challenges, this is the beauty, and this is, a learning process that we're going to have to go through learning each day. But my daughter was diagnosed in Brazil, and then we moved when she was 5 to California. And one thing that I loved when I moved there was meeting other parents who had autism and going to support groups. And because when I would go, I would learn so much about resources, about their stories, and what worked for them and what didn't work for them. I did not have that in Brazil. I didn't know any other families. Did you ever found like a community with other families with autism? Or I know that, maybe depending where you live, maybe there was more parents or less parents. So did you ever had this kind of community with other parents?
Yeah, we connected through work. I knew other families that had children with autism, so we connected with them, and we learned from each other. And my wife went to a conference and learned a little bit about diet and other things. So yeah, we relied on other people to help us. But again, it's always good when you get all the information quickly in the beginning. And for us, and you got to picture it's a long time ago. There was no internet, there was no social media. Today the connectivity helps people to understand and share problems much more. At the time, it was basically face to face if you wanted to do something.
Oh, awesome. So like from I'm sure you tried different therapies, like you mentioned speech therapy and I don't know if you did ABA, but like from all the interventions that you use, there's anything that you can say, well, this really helped my kids specifically.
Yeah, ABA was something that we had therapists come to the house because we found one of the medical insurance plans that our company provided covered ABA. So we had people coming into the house, and it worked well. The challenge was always that therapists would not last long,
Yeah.
and the biggest problem is that it takes a child with autism time to connect with a person and start making progress, and then you have a change in people, and then you start from scratch again and again and again.
Yeah.
Change is one of the things that they don't like, but we've done, ABA. One thing my wife did, and I think she did an amazing job throughout the house, we had little sign packs, and so these pictures were on the house, and they showed you know what everything is, and had sequence of things. And I'll tell you, she does, until this day, no longer with pictures, uh, but she does a beautiful job programming our son for certain activities. So I'll give you an example. Nicholas, I wake him up in the morning, or we wake him up in the morning, and he says good morning. He tells us what day of the week is. He goes up, and then he looks at me, and which means he wants to know if it's long pants or short pants, because that means is it hot or cold today. He gets dressed, he brushes his teeth, and that's all
Mhm.
piece by piece that she taught. He goes down, he makes the same breakfast every day, and then he goes for a walk. He comes back, and then he goes to his goes play, and she trained him to fold his clothes. So he learned a lot of stuff, but it's almost like programming a robot. And the robot will do the same thing every day, and that's you reprogram it, and reprogramming is very difficult and time consuming.
Uh-huh. Is there a specific activities that he likes, like puzzles or any games or riding bikes or like going for a walk? What kind of activities he likes to do?
Yeah, he is very limited in his activities. Uh, one of the interesting things is, and probably you face the same thing, once they reach the age of 22, the school system says, "Thank you very much, have a great life," and then you're on your own. And here where we live in North Carolina, uh, basically we can find no services, and the few services that are available don't have staff.
Yeah.
So about, yeah, 3 years ago now, he started to stay at home. We have a music therapist that comes in once a week. He loves her, and it's always beautiful to hear them singing and playing instruments together. But most of the day, he has his routine. He goes for his walk. He has his meals. Takes his bath. He loves long baths. In the summer, I take him in to swim. But most of his time he spends on his phone watching YouTube videos. Interesting enough, these are mostly uh, YouTube videos of things when he was very young. So he
Mhm.
watches things from the past. He loves to collect uh, video games, Nintendo Wii, and some DVDs. And he just at night before bed sometimes he goes into eBay, or I put in eBay. He types in the old VHS tape or DVD that he wants, and he has a piles and piles of them, and he loves them. So not a whole lot, but again, once we're back in an area with services, which we're planning to do, obviously we want to re-engage him in regular activities because I think he misses it as well.
Yeah, I completely understand. I feel like the system that is in place today is so focused on early intervention and for the children, and it feels like when they grow up, they're gonna disappear. Like they don't exist anymore because there's nothing. There's no support. There's no programs. There is absolutely nothing. And I think it goes on our shoulders as parents kind of create things for them. So I know we talked a little bit before we start this interview about what you plans that you're trying to do to increase the possibilities for adults with autism that can benefit not only your son but others as well.
Yeah, we live in North Carolina now, and again, I'll tell you, we have looked and looked. We love the area. It's a beautiful state, and we had no intention of leaving North Carolina. We found a organization that, again, it's another very, very dedicated mother that created this place called Living with Autism. It's well run. It's really good, but they can't get staff.
Mhm.
So because we've moved quite a bit through my job, we never were eligible to government benefits, so we paid out of pocket. And I always joke for a basic daycare with a few activities, you pay what a Ivy League college would cost. So it's unbelievable how costly it can be because they require one-on-one attention. So we have decided that unfortunately our future is not North Carolina, so we're moving to another state. We're moving to Texas, and where we found a private organization where we're going to put our son for a day program, and hopefully over the years as we age and he ages, the likelihood that he will outlive us is pretty high. So we need a place for him for after we're gone. And, that's I would assume you would agree that this the biggest concern that the
Yeah.
parents with kids with special needs have. So, we're moving there and hopefully we hit it right and we have a good plan for him. And
Yeah.
that's the plan. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're talking a lot about Nicholas. So talk a little bit about Thomas' journey and where he is right now.
Yeah, Thomas went to school like every other kid. Obviously, always needed some support. Got picked on because he was different, and we ended up putting him in a private school here in North Carolina. When we were expats in Brazil as well, and that helped. Always had excellent grades, really smart. We always put him in programs to challenge him more and more and more because, I think straight A students is not a really good thing because failure is part of life. And if you only get the,
Mhm.
um, the, um, you know, the idea that you're perfect, you only get perfect scores, that's dangerous. So we stretched him quite a bit. He didn't like it, but he did very well. He ended up learning German as well. He speaks Portuguese. He speaks English. He finally got accepted in a few universities. That's another interesting process where he applied universities. We disclosed his diagnosis, which was the right thing to do. Um, he went to NC State engineering school. I remember when he was going to orientation, I talked to the counselor and asked her, I said, well, he has autism, and she stopped me and said, "This is engineering school. They all have autism, or a lot of them have autism. Most just don't know it. These are and he actually fit in quite well. He didn't make friends in university, but he did very well. He graduated in computer engineering and electrical engineering. We're very proud. He was summa cum laude. And but then we got into the next step, which was finding him a job. And his resume, because we did a lot of things. He worked through college in a juice bar. He went to California for a program in a university on engineering. He worked with a company, in fact, it's an amazing company called Tigris Financial Partners, by a woman. Her name is Cynthia Di Bartolo, and she is passionate about providing opportunities. And I connected with her, and she accepted Thomas, who worked in Wall Street for 3 months,
Oh, wow.
and learned quite a bit there. And but then he couldn't get a job. His resume would attract an interview, and he would fail every interview until he found a online program where he was teaching kids to program a little device called a Raspberry Pi. So they would code that kit, and but he was working from home, and we thought there needed to be something more for him. And it's painful to see someone who is smart, capable,
Yeah.
but not being accepted to get a job. So we connected with a company called Specially Stern. It's a Danish company that does neuro inclusion,
Mhm.
and they had an opening where they were trying to find electrical engineers to work at Boeing in Philadelphia. And he applied. He went through the program, which is actually quite interesting because he goes through an online program screening. They see him working, and then he goes there and works under their a company for a few months, and then he finally got accepted and has been working for Boeing for, I think he's going 3 or 4 years now, and lives on his own. Continues with the same challenge. He is alone. He doesn't have friends. I would say that the people at Boeing actually include him quite well. um, he just doesn't have the interest and the desire or the ability to connect that well. But he lives well. He's on his own there, makes his money, manages everything on his own, and we're extremely proud of him. But again, it was a journey.
Mhm.
But he is fully independent, and again, very, very proud of him.
Amazing, so it's really about opportunities, right? It's finding the right fit for him, and hopefully society is going to learn to be more flexible and more accommodating of neurodiversity, because they can contribute so much. It's just not sometimes in the same format that we are used to. But amazing, amazing that he's doing so well. Uh,
Yeah, that's what you said is exactly right. The opportunities are there. It is just you need a company that is willing to embrace, and you need to have especially a leader that understand that that employee will have to be dealt with in a different way.
Mhm.
And if you have that connection, and this company did a very good job, and Boeing was open to do it,
Mhm.
and it worked really, really well. And again, I remember one day he had a car issue on his way to work, and he called his boss, said that he was going to be late because he had a problem. His boss just got in the car and came and helped him out. So uh, that's uh, that's the right person prepared to support a person like that.
Both of your kids are aware of, I'm sure maybe Thomas is aware of his diagnosis. Is there were an age that you guys talked to him about it? And how about Nicholas? Is he aware that he has autism, or how is that how is autism impacting their lives? How much they know about it?
Um, it was a debate here at home if we should disclose or not.
Mhm.
And my wife and our doctor at the time said that you absolutely have to disclose. They know that they are different, and they need to understand why. I was in the camp that it should not be disclosed. And my rationale was if I tell him he has a challenge or something is different, I'm afraid that they will use it as an excuse
Mhm,
not to be their best and
mhm.
will put themselves into a position where they're victims. I think we're both kind of right. We ended up disclosing it because I'm smart to listen to my wife
Good job.
and do that. And it was the right thing to do.
Mhm.
Uh, but I think we both joined forces and never let him make excuses for things. So we always pushed him to be whatever he can be. So uh, same thing was when we were going to apply for colleges. Should you disclose or not? It was a big debate at the time, and we thought a lot about it. But today it's an easy answer. Yes, absolutely, you should. The school that is going to take him should absolutely know and be prepared and willing to support them. And NC State did a really good job. He had a person that would support him, and that person was really, really good. With Nicholas, it's a different story because Nicholas is nonverbal, so uh, w- we don't know. He obviously knows that he is different,
Mhm.
but there's no we can't have a conversation with him and talk about it because he's nonverbal. He um, he repeats words. He has his own language that probably my wife and I are the only two who understand that language, and that's it.
Yeah. So like if you would like share something that you think can be meaningful to other parents from your journey, because you have experience from both sides, right? Someone, two children that was diagnosed with autism, one being able to get an education and get a job, another one that was had more challenges and impacted the autism had a bigger impact in his life. Um, so you have both sides, because I was sometimes when I tell someone that my daughter has autism, the first thing they say, not everyone, but the majority, I would say, "Oh, poor thing," and I hate that. I hate when people feel pity or anything. But when I tell them, well, but she's doing well, she went to college, and then they say, "Oh, she's smart." So it's not as bad. And I don't think the value of a person is not determined by their education or what they can do. A person has a value because they are a person. They are born, they're unique, and everyone's different. And I feel like just because someone has challenges, sometimes it's our inability to help them. Not that they're not capable of accomplishing a lot of things, we just with our resources and our knowledge, we're not able to help them. So how would you, like from your experience, how it would help other parents and for also other people who don't have a child with autism? How should they approach autism, and how they should approach a person with autism and the family without diminishing their dignity or their lives?
Yeah, well, I think what you said is very important. There's nothing to be sorry about. These are God-given kids, and they come the way they come, and you accept and love them the way they are, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Mhm.
Um, do I wish they were not autistic and had a normal life? Probably for their sake, because their life would be easier and they would be independent and or be more independent. But for us, you know, it just changes the way your life is, and it's good in a different way. Yeah, I don't have the ability to travel with my wife, or I don't have the ability to go to a restaurant as often or impromptu as I would like to go. We don't take Nicholas to restaurants. We had a few events that we just prefer
Mhm.
not to do it again. you learn different things, and I think I am a better person because I have these two kids, and they taught me so much about life and the value of the real things versus of the material things that we're used to look at. Um, I'd say if I give a few recommendations, the first thing is don't fight the diagnosis like I did. Embrace it and make it part of your life. It's just a different thing. It's not bad. It's just different.
Mhm.
For other people that around, what I always think about is I remember one day where I saw someone with special needs on the street, and what I did is I just changed to the other side of the street and I passed along. I avoided the contact. I think it's a normal thing for people to do,
Mhm.
but you know, just try it. Just go over. If a person is different, it doesn't mean that it's wrong. Just just go learn about it.
Mhm.
I think that's the biggest thing that society in general can do is just try it. Give people opportunity. Don't believe that your way is the only way. People come in different shapes and forms, and they all have their beauty and they all have their flaws, which is okay. As a couple, I would say I think the divorce rate for parents with kids with autism is very high.
Yeah.
As I mentioned in the beginning, we'll be married for 30 years. We made this a joint case. Again, I always tell my wife I had the easy job. I had to make a living and bring the money home. She had the hard work, which is prepared to human beings for life. As I just described, she did a fantastic job with Thomas, who is independent, and with Nicholas, I just joined her. I retired, and we're going to continue the journey together. But you have to stick together, and you need to understand there are trade-offs. There's some things that you just can't do, or will have to do differently. You know, for us, taking a vacation is a bit more complicated. Nicholas has a thing with TVs. He, you know, we believe we know what it is, but there's a certain brand of TVs that he doesn't like, and he breaks them. So when we go to a hotel room or if you rent a house, we're always a little nervous about what brand of TV is going to be there. He's going to break it, and if he breaks it, you just replace it. Um, it's not fun to buy TVs, but
Mhm.
it's not the end of the world. Everything that can be fixed with money, you know, can be fixed. It's the hard things that can't be fixed with money that are the ones that we should suffer over.
So yeah, so I heard that you have family. You speak three languages. You have family in Brazil, and
Yeah, I do.
are you guys able to go back and visit their families? And how does the family? Because I don't think they see you guys very often. So how they deal with the autism, how they embrace, how they accept that.
Yeah. Well, we don't go very often, but we do travel. As you well know, it is a bit of a complicated process to make the trip, but it's possible. And there are just a few things we need to watch for. Don't change locations very often. Make it very predictable. Prepare them for that so that they know what they're expecting. As far as the family in the beginning is where it was very different or difficult because the family thought it was our inability to raise them and to be tough with them and we were just not being discipline parents that were disciplining the kids properly.
Mm.
And then over the years, it became pretty clear that there was something wrong because the grandparents and the uncles, aunts, and cousins don't interact with them that often. Uh, it all depends on the personality. Some are just so natural and loving and go, and others, just don't know what to do. I think everyone accepts the kids extremely well. Some are more comfortable dealing with the different, and some it's a little harder, but in general, it goes very well. But I'll tell you, the process was difficult. I remember we traveled once with my family at the time where there was no clear understanding, and it creates a lot of tension because, again, why can't you just tell your kid to do this? And yeah, I
Yeah.
try, but that's not the way it works.
Yeah. Do you feel like, for me, when Lisa was little, people were more judgmental, but they would accept better, "Oh, because it's a child, she's throwing a tantrum." But as an adult, when her behavior it comes out different, from what is expected, I feel like there's less tolerance about it,
Yeah.
and more rejection, more, distance. People just, "Oh, I don't know that," distance from it.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think there's a little bit of judgment and there's a little bit of I just don't know how to act, therefore I avoid it.
Hmm.
And 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 again, it's the example I mentioned when I crossed the street to avoid contact with a person that was special needs. I mean, it was not that I didn't like him or didn't tolerate it. It just didn't know what to do.
Hmm.
And I was afraid of the unknown.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I
but
think it.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
inherently everyone, if you give them a good explanation and all that. I mean, with Nicholas, what I tell people is that don't talk to him,
Hmm.
because if you talk to him, he understands more than we think, but
Yeah.
he doesn't have the ability to communicate. So
Yeah.
just picture yourself trying to have someone talk to you and you're trapped inside yourself and you can't talk back.
Yeah.
That must be incredibly difficult.
Yeah.
And if you push Nicholas too much, he'll get violent.
Yeah.
And I don't like it, but I understand it. He's
Mhm.
mellowed down quite a bit, and but sometimes it just happens. If you would walk around our house here, you would see some walls with a few holes in them, and if I give you a list of the articles that we had to discard or replace, you'd be surprised, but that's just part of it. And as we get to know him better, we also avoid these triggers and we treat in a better way, and it gets better.
Yeah. Yeah. So like you said, it's tricky because a lot of it's because people don't know. It's about knowledge. They don't know how to relate. But at the same time, it's hard for us as parents to bring our kids to situations that are too challenged for them. So I feel like when people are exposed and know more about it, they will be more accepted. They'll have more acceptance from inclusion and giving opportunities, but it's like a fine line how much you can bring the kids and how much you can educate society to be positive, because we don't want to put our kids in a situation that they were going to fail. We want to put in a situation for them
That's
to
right.
do well and better. But I feel like conversations like that, just sharing our stories and our struggles, um, I hope get can show a glimpse of what we go through it, and people can understand more, and give more opportunities and make a society more inclusive of all neurodivergent.
Yeah, I can tell you a quick story. With my parents, they just you know they knew it, but they didn't understand it, and they came to visit us here once, and we went to a restaurant and we took Nicholas. And you know we knew that it was a risky thing, so we picked a booth, and my wife was at one end and I was at the other end and Nick was in the middle, so we knew we couldn't escape and we would be safe. And everything seemed pretty normal. We had ordered and just all good. And Nicholas grabs the glass of water and ice, and he just throws that glass across the restaurant. So a glass flying through a restaurant and obviously hit someone else's table, and then he starts screaming, and I restrained him and put him in the car and left, and my wife and my parents finished a very awkward and uncomfortable meal, and that was it. And they went and apologized to the family that was on the other side, on the receiving end of that glass, and fortunately, no one got hurt. Um, Actually, a lovely family, very understanding. Would be hard for someone to understand why someone tossed a glass on your table. Uh, but I think it was the day where, in this case, my parents understood that why did that happen? I said, we don't know. And I think it was like, oh, that's what's going on, right? And so sometimes you need to see an example and understand the struggles and put yourself in the position of the parents in order to fully understand it. And with the parents living in a different country, it's really hard.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So, like, for us to close our talk today, so how do you see yourself in the autism journey right now?
well, I believe that we have three phases in our life, right? You have the phase where we are learning, and we go to school, and we pursue an education so that we create an ability to make a living, right?
Mhm,
And then you have the second phase of your life, which is where you execute what you've learned, and you make a living, and you earn a bit of money, and hopefully you earn enough so that you can stop working at a given time of your life and retire and enjoy that phase. And I just started that phase of retirement. And I believe that's the third phase, which is the phase of legacy, which is, the day you leave this world, have you left something behind?
mhm,
And so obviously our passion is the subject of autism. Uh, there's so much to be done, uh, with good reason. Most people like to focus on finding the diagnosis, helping young children in the school process, which is all good, right? Early intervention helps you to maximize the potential. Uh, there's not a whole lot happening. Once you reach the age of 22, the school system says, "Thank you very much. It was a pleasure. Have a good life," and then you're on your own. And if you think of parents like yourself and Jael and I, uh, it becomes a little scary once you get to the point where now you're out of support,
mhm,
you're on your own, and the likelihood that you will uh, leave this world before they do is quite high. In my case, Nicholas is 32 years younger than I am. Thomas is 30 years younger than I am. It's probably going to happen that way. So I think for me, my passion now is how do I work to help to enable places to take care of adults with autism, provide them an ability to work if they are like Thomas, or provide them an opportunity to be as good as they can be and provide the value to society they can do in an environment. It's hard. There's not a whole lot. We are in the United States, and you would think that if there's a place in the world where there would be a lot of opportunity, it's here, but it's not. It's very limited. As I just mentioned, we're going to change states and pick up our stuff and move to a completely different part of the country because that's what we found is best for him. And even they are constrained as well, and they try to start up different places around the country with difficult challenges. The biggest issue with autism is that you need one-on-one care. And if you do the financial math, if one autistic adult needs the care of a full-time employee, where does the money come from? Right?
mhm,
So it makes it really, really hard. So either you pour a lot of money into it, or you have to create models that are self-sustaining. So one of the things that I am working on is, the place where Nicholas is going to go has several work streams. They're very successful. I mean, they're approaching 50 years of business. They're really good, but work streams, ability to have them do repeatable work, create value, pay part of their cost, um, receive a little bit of money from the government, pay a bit of tuition, rely a little bit of donations. You add it all up, and you can make it work. But it's hard. So um, my third phase of life, and my wife is exactly in the same boat. We want to dedicate to that, and it's fun.
That's beautiful. That's so beautiful. Yeah. Thank you so much, Oda, for sharing your story. It's a beautiful story. And I can't wait to see all that you're still going to accomplish now in your third phase of life. I'm sure you're going to do amazing things, not only for your son, but, for a lot of other people, in the spectrum. So all the
Yeah,
best luck to
yeah.
you.
Thank you, Leila. You as well. I know that this is an easy conversation because you and I and our families have witnessed and have been through the journey. But again, allies that not have been in the journey are important, and it doesn't take much. Um, Again, it only takes understanding. When people have understanding, it goes a long way. So I hope that this conversation helps to just bring a little bit of reality uh, to the houses of people that have never experienced this reality, and with that, just continue to widen the knowledge about autism. Hopefully, in a way or the other, it helps to advance the cause.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.